EWTV, at the heart of Europe. Welcome to The Journal. I'm Brian Thomas.
And I'm Monica Jones. I'll have the business news. Welcome.
Our headlines at this hour: the German parliament debates whether to allow the controversial practice of embryo screening.
Germany's finance minister calls ratings agencies an oligopoly and says their influence should be curbed after they downgrade Portuguese debt.
And Sweden advanced to the quarterfinals of the Women's World Cup after a shock win over the U.S. Should parents have the right to discard embryos if they show signs of genetic defects like cleft palates or Down syndrome? That's the question facing the German parliament, which will vote today on the legalization of embryo screening, which involves the genetic testing of embryos during the process of artificial insemination. The controversial procedure has supporters and opponents across the political divide here, but it is categorically opposed by Germany's Catholic Church.
An embryo comprises just a few cells when pre-implantation screening takes place. The procedure identifies serious genetic disorders. Only healthy embryos are implanted in the mother's womb. The German parliament is considering 3 different bills. One would allow the procedure under strict conditions and on a case-by-case basis. Another would ban screening with only limited exceptions. The third would outlaw embryo screening altogether.
If this House were to start determining selection criteria, we'd be identifying boundaries between worthy and unworthy of life. This issue is not about selection. This issue is not about the worthiness to live. This issue is about the ability to live.
Es geht bei dieser Frage Lebensfähigkeit.
Critics argue that embryo screening could create a demand for so-called designer babies. That's disputed by opponents of a total ban.
Someone who chooses PGD doesn't do it to have a baby with blue eyes. It's absurd to think that women would willingly subject themselves to this just so they can select a certain feature for their child.
Lawmakers are not obligated to vote along party lines. Instead, they're free to vote according to their conscience.
Well, as we've just seen there, a very emotional debate in the German parliament today. Let's bring in our political correspondent, Simon Young. Simon, can you fill us in on the 3 proposals out there and what kind of backing they have?
Well, the striking thing about this debate here at the Bundestag today is that all 3 proposals being debated have support from across the political spectrum. So you've got senior Conservatives lining up alongside Greens and Social Democrats in support in each of these 3 camps. Just to recap, the most declared support, I suppose, is in favour of allowing embryo screening, albeit under certain very limited and clearly defined circumstances. Slightly less support at the moment, anyway, for a ban on embryo screening. And then there's a third sort of compromise position, which would involve a ban, but would be a de facto toleration of screening in circumstances where genetic defects mean that allowing the pregnancy to go ahead would very likely lead to miscarriage or stillbirth. So you've got a wide range of opinion, and this vote here in the Parliament today could be very close.
Okay, does it look like which of the 3 proposals or which of the 3 proposals has what kind of support? Which one could go through today?
Well, as I say, there is a certain amount of declared support. The most people who've come out have said that they support a liberalisation, but the sort of camp for banning embryo screening is only slightly behind. That has the support, incidentally, of Chancellor Angela Merkel. The compromise position has rather less support, but there's over 150 parliamentarians who've said they are still listening to their consciences, and indeed they're listening to the arguments being made here in Parliament today, and on that basis they're going to decide how they vote.
Okay, Simon, we'll be getting back to you later today. Thanks so much for now, though.